We are discussing a villa called Villa Yeraz, named after your client's wife. The client is a winery owner. This couple's house is situated at the edge of Rind village in the Vayots Dzor region, which is one of Armenia's renowned winemaking centers, approximately a 2-hour drive from Yerevan. It is located on a high plateau, 1,350 meters above sea level. It offers a picturesque view of the surrounding mountains. The building is a one-story elongated prism that evokes international style architecture. When we discussed it before, you mentioned this idea of an abstract object falling from the sky. What was your vision for this house? How did you respond to your client's desires and expectations?
First and foremost, I was very inspired by when I saw the landscape. For me, it was quite unexpected to see such great distances, such flat spaces below. And I decided to approach this issue somewhat through evoking contrast, but harmonious contrast. I wanted to get the volume of this villa, if we put it metaphorically, to suspend it from the sky, to get an image of a counterbalance to nature, not to mimic nature, not to imitate nature or repeat it, but to approach it in a contrasted way, to get the best out of light and shadow. So it's a rectangular space on both sides. It has deep consoles that take care of the shadow. It's in scale with the nature. It's not aggressive towards nature.
I wonder how predetermined was the exact position of the house. If you could talk about the relationship of the villa to the landscape.
It opens on a brilliant, genuinely brilliant landscape. You have to be a poet to be able to describe it. It was really wonderful for me. I have never encountered such spaces in Armenia before. It's like a saucer flanked by mountains, and it was a source of inspiration. That's why we settled out. It's not over the hill. Why it's not higher than the hill? And this is because the traditionalism that came into play in us. Usually in Armenia, since times immemorial, they never built anything on summits, just on the slopes. So the highest point of the building just coincides with the summit.
This is a country house, and country houses tend to be very casual, relaxed in their compositions and postures. For example, houses by Alvaro Siza been described as lazy cats stretched under the sun. So this is a very different situation, very different kind of reserved orthogonal geometry, very straightforward. If you could touch on your choice for this particular strict posture of the house.
I didn't design a country house, although that's the lazy cat stretching idea fits this one also, because it has very shadowy corners. But this is not a country house. I didn't intend or had in mind designing a country house. I just wanted it the exact opposite, for it to be different from a country house. Maybe in scale, it is a scale of other country houses in the Rind village, but it should stand out by its lifestyle, its positioning, its orientation.
From certain viewpoints, the house does not appear like a building. It's very abstract, looking like, as you said before, an object falling from the sky. What are some of the rational thoughts about this, behind this idea?
Let's put it this way. I attempted to arrive at a state which could be described as a harmonious aggressiveness. I don't know how to put it into words. it does not repeat any of the forms of nature, but neither does it occupy the space of nature. It's just inserted into that hill slope. That's what I'm striving. I'm striving towards that type of laconic architecture. When you start approaching the village at a distance, this plate is perceived with a deep shadow underneath and nothing else. There are no architectural details visible. It's just a volume that casts a shadow on the earth, and it's suspended in the air, actually.
Any particular inspirations you use to achieve this solution?
My first impression, fresh today as on day one, when I saw this landscape, I have to reiterate, it impressed me greatly. Next to the vineyard, there were very low walls built of local stone flanking the vineyard. The dry, scorched grass, which and the rocks that received an orange hue, tobacco-like coloring under the sun. That was a very good palette, and you add the blue sky to it, and this dryness brought before my eyes, we have this Armenian renowned painter Hakop Hakopian, and his landscapes, these crooked vines, the dry grass, that's what came to my mind immediately, and that was my source of inspiration. I started to design from within that landscape, not on the paper. The landscape was in my hand. I was designing inside the landscape, being in it. That was my inspiration, Hakop Hakopian.
Nevertheless, when we spoke about this house, you said there was no context. So it turned out to be very independent. If you could elaborate on that.
In designing, the work of the architect gets harder and easier along the way than at the beginning. There is an environment, there is neighborhood, there's a neighbor's house, there's some other structure or a vantage point that you have to look from. In this case, there was nothing except for stark nature. Using the language of fine arts, you had to use big brush strokes for this, even a single big brush stroke. I decided not to tie this to anything, not to mimic nature. With one brush strokes, I got this oblong plate.
How would you define your architectural language, and would you say you have a distinctive, particular architectural style?
They say I do have it. They say that my works are recognizable and there's a certain handwriting. It's a pleasure to hear that, of course. It seems to be, because I have students, there is some sort of a school. They try to pick up where I leave, but I'm striving towards laconism, laconic style, and I'm trying in this laconic style to look for and find something traditional which is characteristic for Armenia. I'm striving towards the laconic expression, and since the language of architecture is understandable for everyone, I want to use my language at the same time with an Armenian accent.
It took you 5 years to complete this project. You described it as a difficult experience. If you could talk about challenges.
Challenges were not in the beginning. I like the process of sketching, the contacts, the give and take with the client, to learning how their household operates, how they live, what are their priorities and likings. This process is pure pleasure and creative. I like and appreciate that part of the work. The challenges came during construction because it's at quite a distance from Yerevan, far away, in a rural setting, cut off from the highway, and not every contractor agreed to work there. And those who agreed were not qualified enough to be able to attain what I designed and agreed with the client, which is why I had to exert great efforts. And that's where I had to be uncompromising to finish everything the way I wanted. It was required a great. We even replaced the contractor in the meantime. I do not regret these efforts because nothing comes without an effort. It's hard work that gets you results.
Speaking of what you just mentioned, being uncompromising, you said, I did not want to compromise even a little bit. If you could elaborate on this.
Yes, I really genuinely did not want to compromise even a bit, because usually people like to do what they're accustomed to. That which, if they have to do something new, they shy away from it. They are fierce. They think they may fail. In order to make this all happen, for example, the joint where the pool is attached to the facade of the building, it took a lot of effort and there had to be joints developed. I had the designs, the plans for it that I gave to the at a scale of 1:1. I kept returning to the construction site to see that it's meticulously done, because had they deviated, it would turn into something else, neither designed by me nor approved by the client.
I want you to talk about the choice of materials. Armenians call tuf their national material, but you decided in this case not to use tuf. Could you explain why?
Yes, I didn't use tuf in this case. It could plaster could also be called traditional material. It's ubiquitous in Armenia. I also use traditional inputs, local stone, which we collected from the vineyards, and the entryway associated with the stairs is lined with the rocks that we found in the vineyards. And the stairs are huge chunks of basalt slabs that guide you towards the house, continuing the slope. Almost every material is local.
Going beyond this project, when discussing your architecture, you use words and phrases such as individuality, meticulous, uncompromising. We use this, you used it several times already in this conversation. Maximum integration with nature, floating in the air, complementing the landscape, playfully irrational twist. You mentioned in one of the conversations, and already in this conversation, you said harmonious aggressiveness. How else would you describe your work, and what kind of architecture do you try to achieve?
If we talk about the kind of architecture I want to get, I do not have a recipe for that. Every location comes with its own specifics. I approach this question anew every time. Sometimes it seems that I'm powerless because I do not even understand how to proceed from there. Every location, every environment, every client comes up with their own issues, and there has to be a new approach. But there is one line that connects it everything. Maybe that's called a handwriting. I'll have to reiterate. I strive towards laconism in my architecture. I clean up, I polish and hone to arrive at simple, clean forms and volumes. And I lose textures in interpretation, lining, plaster, rock interpretation. These are very important attributes for me. The notion of a wall matters for me. After all, buildings are made of walls. And the wall in and of itself is an interesting subject. Its texture, its masonry, it's a plane. It's every location asks for a different approach. So I do not have a universal recipe. or a matrix that would apply to every project. But since it's me doing it, well, handwriting emerges apparently.
When you design your projects, you use traditional drafting tools and you build your study models with your own hands. If you could discuss your design process.
Well, those who come to our studio, they know what they want. Do not think it's bragging. People who come to our studio know what they want. They know that I have my style, I have my approach to work. So they're already prepared. Naturally, we talk, we get to know each other. First, I want to get an understanding of what makes their clock tick, what makes them tick, what are their priorities, what's their household. Do they like to entertain guests? Do they like solitude? In a nutshell, that all matters. It has to be established initially. The next stage is when I tell them, I want to make a suggestion. So I take a blank piece of paper and somehow start to draw, sketching. I don't know how it emerges, but it does. So I start making pencil sketches. I do photographs. When the sketches start emerging, I immediately make a scale model with my own hands to better perceive the volumes. I like to hold it in my hand, in my palm, the whole structure, to turn, to rotate, to look at it from different angles. After that, when I'm satisfied to a certain degree, we start to discuss that with the client. Of course, I have watercolor facades and drone facades. We talk about the image, we talk about the linkages, the functionalities. It's not that I strive in all of this to something rational. I am attracted by irrational attributes of this process because I believe that's the spice, that's the salt. The irrational is spicing it up. It's a mystery. And it's an attractive mystery which pulls me and attracts the clients. It's the white paper, then a model, then a design, floor plans, and during that it's continually being polished, honed, tweaked, line over line. I clean it up, I bring it to a state which I think is sufficient. That's when I present it to the client, we discuss, and after I get approval, we move on to the digital toolkit. That's more or less the kitchen.
It looks very rational in the end. So what was the irrational part?
Irrațional momente.
The irrational in it, putting that rectangle, that prism into nature, inserting it there is quite irrational. Everyone, including yourself, are asking why it doesn't resemble a country house. Why is it not made of tuff? That's the irrational in it. It's not exactly irrational. There are chunks in the internal space that for me also are somewhat irrational. I may interpret, for example, a long corridor, a wash in light, which is overlooking the village and the vineyard. They say it's too long. Wouldn't it be nice if it were shorter? Imagine you have a street, an avenue in your house, which you cross from end to end. It's a street you traverse, and it comes up with doors, with the bedroom. You end up in a square, which is your living room. So this length is pulling you. You can walk along it inside your house as if it's in an urban setting. Had I been rational, most probably I would have organized the space differently, which I didn't do.